Oh, this was one of the questions I didn't expect. Talking about signings in the winter break, I think there are so many games to be played before that. And in the position we are in, it's the last thing that's on my mind. Maybe not on Richard's, but it's the last thing on my mind. So it's not a topic at all for me at the moment. We have at this moment of time 3 centre backs where. With Joe Gomez included, of course, and maybe Ryan and Wata who can play in that position. So maybe you are not aware of it yet, but we have other positions at the moment where which is a bit more of an issue.
In terms of results, then, how perfect do you feel you have to be if you are to retain the title now?
No, I think I've said many times already that at this moment of time we're not even thinking or talking about it. Actually, we didn't do this last season as well when we were top of the league. It's just about the next game. And I've said many times last season, and I say this season again as well, the best way to judge a league table is after 38 games, but the next best thing, in my opinion, is after 19 games. And now, let's see where we are then. But at this moment of time, the only focus we have is winning games of football, which it was actually the same last season at this moment of time.
To ask you about Andy Robertson and his comments on the Scotland qualifier for the World Cup around Diogo Jota kind of gave an indication of the weight of grief that you guys are all still carrying. I just wonder then how you manage that day to day within the club, but also as well, are you guys being fairly judged given the raw emotion that you're still carrying with regard to Diogo?
I think we're always judged, sometimes fair, sometimes unfair. But I saw the interview as well live, and I know that it is an issue for us, which is I think completely normal. But then at these moments of time, I always think about how must it feel for his wife and his children, because that's so much harder for them than it is for us. But that we miss the player and the person, that is completely clear. Maybe it tells you even more now. We play Nottingham Forest. Last season we were 1-0 down at Forest. It only took him 1 minute to score the equaliser. So now I'm talking about the player that we miss for sure, because this time we haven't managed to come back as many times as last season after being 1-0 down or a goal down. And he definitely played his part in that last season. But that we also miss him as a person, that be completely clear. But again, his wife and children will miss him so much more. Parents, by the way, as well.
I can tell that you're getting quite emotional, and now thinking about that as well. Does everybody come together, to be reminded? I know you don't want ever to forget Diogo, but it's that constant reminder. Is that something that is good for everyone to spur them on, or are there some other parts with that?
I think it's good for us to remind him every time possible because of, like I said, the person and the player he was. But it's impossible to measure what it does to the players and then to measure what it does to our results. So the last thing I would do is to use it as an excuse, because I don't know. What I do know is that we miss the player. That's 100% sure. And we also miss the person, but I cannot measure what that has an impact on our performances, let alone on our results. So that's impossible for me to say, and we will never use it as an excuse, because that doesn't feel right.
Can I ask you about team news? Alisson, just wondering where he is. Andy Robertson himself, I don't know if he trained yesterday. Alexander, and the update maybe on Jeremy as well.
Robert didn't train for private reasons. That's the way you say it? Yeah. But he will be with us today. Alisson trained last week and this week, so he will be able to play tomorrow if things work out well today again. But we do have some issues after the international break, unfortunately. So Conor Bradley is not able to play. Florian Wirtz is not able to play. Those are the two, I think. Yeah. So that's that's not far from ideal.
Do you expect Alisson, or will you choose Alisson to start?
If he's ready to play, then he will start. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just wonder what differences you're expecting in Nottingham Forest this season compared to when you faced them last season. Obviously, 2 changes of manager since then.
Yeah. True, 2 changes. I don't think you can. No, not one manager is the same as another one. But the playing style of Nuno comes closer to the one of Sondheis than it comes close to the one of Ainge Postecoglou, maybe. Again, not similar, but closer. So I think it's probably going to be a similar type of game than it was the last time we faced them. Now, with Sondheis taking over from Ainge Postecoglou.
And obviously the hectic fixture schedule won't let up over the next few weeks. I think it's 7 games in 21 days for you. How is that when it comes to letting some of your new signings in particular in, because some of them have sort of varying levels of form so far? How does that affect things when you perhaps feel like, I don't know, maybe you have to change things for fitness reasons every few days?
No, variation of form is not only with the new signing, that's also with the players we have. So that's always in a season that is not always the same. They're not always in the same form. But the biggest issue we've faced till now and still facing is the match fitness of the players and the time they've missed in pre-season. So Alex now, we were hoping him to play a little bit more for the Swedish national team, but unfortunately he was 1 yellow away from being suspended. So for obvious reasons, they didn't play him the second time. But for us, it would have been better if he would have had a bit more minutes in the second game. I just told you about Connor and Florian. Jeremy is already out, Giovanni Leoni. So we have at this moment of time 5 defenders, natural defenders, 5 players that have always played as a defender, available for indeed 7 games in 22 days. And I don't see anyone coming back before that. So that is something we almost, I wouldn't say expected, but we knew that it was hard when you bring players a little bit later into the season. It is harder to keep them fit, and then there's more emphasis on the ones that have to play a little bit more in terms of what you ask from them. So that was one of the reasons why I played the team that I played against Palace for the League Cup.
Liverpool then. Sorry, he said, but surely Liverpool pound for pound can just take people on punch for punch and just win more games. I don't understand why they're not. I like the way they were playing in the first few weeks.
Listen, there's probably so many things. What are we going to just repeating ourselves? And we probably all said it at different times. Was Salah ever going to have the same season? Again, he was possibly going to have. Canate's fell off a cliff. You know, things like that make a big difference. McAllister's never quite been 100% fit. Sometimes he plays 3 games. So I think there's lots of little things. But you know what, for being totally honest, when you actually look at the games they've lost and the type of games they've lost, they can't handle the physicality of the Premier League this season. They can't. You know, when you think of teams that lack something, they normally let you down away from home against teams who have a physical game, if you like, and a physical nature. And they've gone missing so often in away games. They're fine at Anfield. I've seen it. I think the record, they only lost 1, which is the Man United game. I think they lost 22 at home, I think, in the Premier League. So they're fine at home and they've got the fans with them. They feel comfortable.
Homers.
But Homer. So with they're just lacking a little bit of. I don't think. The simplest way of saying it, I think, is that Liverpool were sort of. Arne Slops wanted to move Liverpool. Oh, thank you. You want red, don't you?
What's that? I haven't got anything, James.
Yeah, but I think Slot. When you listen to Slot talk about Liverpool last season, even though they won the league, he always talks about every game sort of went to the wire. They only won by the odd goal. He almost wanted to have more football, more goals, more entertainment. He loved. When you hear him speak about Paris Saint-Germain last season, it's like, oh my God, that's the football I want. I want it. That's amazing. Even last week when he's played, so when he played Man City last week, he's talking up Pep like he's his hero. Do you know what I mean? And he probably is, isn't he? For probably a lot of coaches, that's his football. And I think the Premier League, he's trying to push Liverpool even more this way. And I think the Premier League's actually probably gone back in terms of physicality.
Physicality in the
So his team's
directions.
probably a little bit weaker. And, you know, the Premier League's now everyone's just giant set pieces, long throws, and the team can't cope
How
with
was
it.
you going to fix it, Jamie?
I'm not sure he can... I don't think this group of players is equipped to win the league this year, even with the points and how far behind. You look at the difference in the Champions League, look fine. You know, Wirtz, all his best games have been in the Champions League, haven't they? But I think they'll have to recruit more physical players, and that's when I look at actually...
You mean in January or the end of the season?
Maybe even January, because I just seen the Semenyo thing came up, and obviously he's got a link with the Richie Hughes, who was at Bournemouth. But when you actually look at him as a player, lightning quick, big, powerful, Liverpool don't have a lot of pace, really, when you think of the wide areas. Sarah's not a flying machine. Now, Gakpo's not really. But I just think maybe more physicality in the team, more pace, more power.
They'll regret that decision as well at Gahey in the summer, won't they?
Oh, it's a bad mistake. It's a bad
that looks worse now the more you look at it.
Yeah.
How they didn't get that
all over
done.
the place as well. isn't he?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
season?
I think it was Liverpool are known as being like sort of really smart in the market, and I get that, and not paying over the odds, and really good at selling. But this thing of like, oh, he's only got a year to go. We've got you by the year, you know, the town halls type of thing. On the last day of the window, you have to give us 35 million, and they pull out of it. And you just think that could cost them. I think if Liverpool don't sign a centre back in how long am I taking to open this fucker?
I was trying to think, what's that in your hand?
But if I think if Liverpool don't sign a defender in January,
It's out in the Champions League.
I think they could.
Would United finish above Liverpool this season?
I don't think so. You're desperate for that, aren't you? Not just because he got ridiculed, didn't he, for his predictions.
Yeah.
So I'm well aware every week he's on the phone to people at Sky saying, well, what did Carragher say in the predictions? What did he say?
Well, my predictions, as we've established in the first day of Monday Night Football, are more accurate than yours over time. But I actually think this season you're in a bit of trouble.
Okay. Well, I'm going to lose my job or something because I got what was wrong.
What was your predictions? What was your predictions, Jack? What was it?
Well, he had Liverpool winning the league. He didn't have. I had United in the top four, didn't I? They could sneak into fifth.
You can't.
Fifth.
You do this
They could do
every
fifth.
week. Every year.
Do you think they could finish fifth?
I
Get the
said-
Champions League.
I said they should finish in Europa League position. No, they won't finish fifth.
We're just waiting for James to finish eating.
Let's move off Liverpool. Should we move off Liverpool? Is there anything else you've got to say on that? We had to look, catch up with you.
Yeah, because
We've not been here
you
for
haven't
5
been
weeks.
about, we missed it.
And people have been worried about you and just
Yeah.
concerned that you've been not
been
coming on
just-
for the wrong reasons,
Yeah.
really. You're a show-up type of guy, and you know the accusations have been that maybe you're not,
Mate,
that you don't turn up. But we were fighting your
we
cause.
were fighting for you. You know, we're losing, but we're fighting for you.
% of their game time in the Premier League this season. That is worse than 17th place Burnley and 19th place Forest. Only West Ham and Wolves have been in a losing position for longer than Liverpool. Right, let's speak live to someone who knows Liverpool inside out. That's James Pearce from The Athletic. James, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Let's get straight into it. What do you think has been the main reason for Liverpool's drop in form this season?
Yeah, I think it's that defensive vulnerability that stands out more than anything else. You just look at the numbers. It's 17 goals conceded after 11 games compared to 6 conceded at the same time a year ago. They've been too easy to get at. I wouldn't just point the finger of blame just at the back line. I think, there's, in midfield, they've been too easy to play through. And at the top end of the pitch, they haven't pressed as well as they did last season as a unit. So, various mitigating circumstances for that with, new players still adjusting to their surroundings, injuries which have contributed to key personnel not being at the same level as well. But that's the biggest thing that Slot has to change, especially think of set pieces and when teams have gone direct against them too often they've wilted.
Yeah, you mentioned the new players there and their time to adapt. I mean, when they were signing those players, everyone was pretty much saying the league's wrapped up already for Liverpool. Do you think they almost got their summer business a bit wrong? Almost brought in too many of those straightaway starters.
I don't think they got it wrong. I think one, it's too early. I think to be making kind of sweeping judgments. We're only 11 games into the league season. And also a lot of the changes were enforced when you think, Trent Alexander-Arnold on, to Real Madrid, Gerald Kwanzaa, Harvey Elliott, players like this wanted to leave in search of more game time. I think everyone was in agreement it was the right time to kind of draw a line under Darwin Núñez's Liverpool career. Luis Diaz, wanted the kind of money that Liverpool just weren't prepared to offer him. So, at the time, everyone was saying that was a deal that made perfect sense given his age. So, I think, you have to say only so far the only summer signing who's really hit the ground running is Hugo Ekitike. But, too many of the others, I think it's too soon to judge. Alexander Isak, the buzz around his signing, but he just hasn't been fit enough to contribute. Florian Wirtz is still clearly adjusting to the physicality of the Premier League. So, Jeremy Frimpong has had 2 hamstring problems, so that's been an issue.
Yeah, and we were talking obviously about Jamie Carragher mentioning the need that Liverpool need to sign a centre back in January. That was put to Arne Slot. He was a bit mystified by the statement. What do you think? Do you think they need to get that centre back in January, and will they?
I think they do. Yeah, whether they will or not is a different matter. I think they at the moment, when you look at, they're about to embark. Saturday against Forest is the first of 7 games in the space of 22 days, and they've obviously only got 3 established senior centre backs, having lost Giovanni Leone to that season-ending ACL injury. If anything was to happen to Virgil van Dijk or Ibrahima Konate, they would be in big trouble, because also Slot has been reluctant to turn to Joe Gomez so far this season. His only 2 starts have been in the Carabao Cup. So I think it's something that they really do need to look at, because if they were to suffer another injury in that department, it could potentially really wreck hopes of salvaging something from this season. Mark Gay is the one obviously that everyone's talking about, but I think it's going to be difficult to get him in January when Palace obviously pulled the plug on deadline day, and the decision they made then was they were going to keep hold of him for the last year of his contract. And I do doubt whether Liverpool are going to be willing to pay the kind of money that would kind of test that resolve at Palace for someone who, of course, they can get for free next summer. And also, from the player's viewpoint, it's much more lucrative for Mark Gay to move as a free agent next summer rather than in January.
Yeah, it's fascinating to talk to you, James, because obviously Arne Slot's Liverpool so well. I mean, you've got your brand new book very subtly placed there in the back. I'll hold one up here as well. This is it, James Pearce, Walk On, Inside Arne Slot's Liverpool. What can you tell us, James? What can we expect in here?
Thanks, Roman. Yeah, it's the kind of story of the transition from the Jurgen Klopp era to the Arne Slot one. And of course, going back to January 2024 when Jurgen Klopp dropped that bombshell, a lot of Liverpool fans had a sense of trepidation and fear about what the future might look like. I think rival fans were probably rubbing their hands in delight and thinking that Liverpool would fall away. Yet, it was seamless in terms of the transition. So it goes into kind of how they tempted Michael Edwards back with increased responsibilities as FSG's CEO of football, the importance of bringing in Richard Hughes as sporting director, and all the changes that went on behind the scenes, and the process of appointing Slot, and then how the Dutchman went about putting his stamp on the squad he inherited from Jurgen Klopp and taking them to the next level with winning the Premier League title in the way he did and exceeding all expectations. And I think there's plenty in there as well that should fuel the belief that he is still well and truly the right man to turn things around, because you don't do what he did at Liverpool last season unless you're an elite coach.
Yeah, this is a proper in-depth look. I absolutely love it. James, thank you so much for coming onto the show, and congratulations on the book.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you so much, James Pearce there from The Athletic. Fascinating to see Liverpool's progression this season. It's not gone how we expected it at all. I mean, the Premier League has gotten much more physical this season. We've seen that in numbers. I mean, do you think Liverpool have almost gone in the other direction?
Other direction as in?
Yeah, in terms of physicality. Like we're looking at teams like City's, Pep City and Arsenal.
Yeah.
They're big players now, but their structure now seems to be a bit more tactile, smaller players, quick football.
Yeah, and I think James was right. The intensity is not as strong as it was last season. The pressing is not as good. The counter-pressing certainly not. That could be down to
Gravenberch not being at the level of last season, McAllister certainly neither. So in midfield already you're suffering and you don't have the control that you used to have last season, which I think is partly for me a reason to explain why they just can't get hold of games like they used to. Because even when they were winning, we talked about the 5 defeats in the last 6, but before that they were winning in the 92nd minute, 96th minute, and we said from the beginning, this is not sustainable anyway. This is not, at some point this is going to stop. This is not good enough from them. And the lack of control in that midfield, I think also spreads to everywhere else. The Mo Salah's form is a big problem. We've said that since the start of the season. And last season, I think we tend to forget that Salah bailed them out a lot of games with his goals and his assists, really. Yeah. So this is for me why they are where they are now. But there's a solution, of course there are. There always is.
This year is a transition.
Yeah.
Last year wasn't a transition. I'm not taking anything away from Arne Slot. I think he did the right thing, was kept it all very similar to what Klopp. There was nothing wrong. You know, it was just little tweaks. All he did made Mo Salah a little bit happier. You know, he got Virgil van Dijk to sign, couldn't manage to persuade Trent to sign. The change of players, now putting them all in now, after they went to the transfer window and everyone thought this was it, transition from players to club, to country, to England is very difficult. I've experienced it myself with signings. It takes a long time for them to settle, and it's proving very difficult for them at the moment.
Welcome back to Team Talks. We are talking about Liverpool now, the defending champions. Darren once again losing to Manchester City just before the international break. Surely it's too early to talk about the title challenge being over.
Say it again, the season starts here. Guardiola said it, didn't he? And he's right. I think we've had the international breaks, we've had all of the, if you like, obstacles, the hurdles, but now suddenly it's consistency all the way through to next spring. And I think as far as Liverpool are concerned, now we'll get to see the real Liverpool. Now, I've got to predicate everything I'm saying by saying I still am of the opinion that this won't be a title-winning season for Liverpool. I think they've had too much trauma from the summer. I think they've had a disrupted preparation for this season, physically and emotionally. And it's a lot to ask of these young men to try to put that emotional intensity into their sporting commitments. But they have spent a lot of money, and there is an expectation that they will complete these commitments. But it's a lot. I think we'll see the best of the Liverpool side next season. But I know that Slot even today in this press conference was talking on Friday about the loss of Jota. And I think as far as the other teams at the top of the Premier League are concerned, they don't have that. Yeah, they'll be grateful not to have that. But I think as far as Liverpool are concerned, it's a difficult one.
Yeah, just to clarify, you were smiling there because obviously everyone thought you were preempting what I'm about to say now in terms of that press conference. I just want to be very clear because you were talking about quite a sensitive subject. Now, this is what Darren was referencing in terms of Guardiola and when to start judging the season. Arne Slot said the best time to judge the league table is after 19 games. Let's listen in.
I've said many times last season, and I say this season again as well, the best way to judge a league table is after 38 games, but the next best thing, in my opinion, is after 19 games. And now, let's see where we are then. But at this moment of time, the only focus we have is winning games of football, which it was actually the same last season at this moment of time.
There is some good news for them, though, in terms of players returning. And then they also, have had some bad news because Florian Wirtz is out now and Conor Bradley. That raises questions about who plays at right back because Frimpong's not returned enough. It's been tricky for them. It's been a bit like that. But Alisson returning is a huge plus.
Yeah, Alisson is a massive plus, huge. But I think with Liverpool, you spoke about the trauma. It's difficult to understand what these players are going through. Yeah. Even when I played, I remember players that you were really close to that left the club and joined another club. That was hard enough. So you can imagine what these players are going through. So of course it's going to be difficult. I don't think you can win the league at this stage of the season. But of course you can lose it now.
Were you at West Ham when they lost Mark Vivian Foe?
I was in the youth team. Right. I sort of trained with him.
And so you kind of understood the impact it has on a club.
Of course, yeah, because you can never prepare yourself for anything like that. And as teammate, you just become a family. You're so close, in football you're so close, and from the stuff that we've heard about this young man and how he was around the place, and so it's infectious, and how he was so loving, an unbelievable player. brought so much to the dressing room, then all of a sudden he's just gone. You know, like I said before, it's hard to actually find words to describe what that would be like for these players. And we've seen Salah in certain games where he's emotional on the pitch. So it's tough. So, you know, are we surprised that, you know, this has happened? And not only that as well, the new signings, you know, that takes time. You know, these players that have come in, they're all top players, but these players need time. The only one really that you could say that's hit the ground running is probably Ekatike. He's been fantastic since. It's almost like he's been there for years.
Yeah, interesting as well. You mentioned, you know, the loss of that player. It's not just like they're gone; they're reminders everywhere. And when you go to Anfield, you hear it in the 20th minutes as well. In every game, there's a reminder.
What's been quite interesting is that there's been some debate among the fans. I know they like to mark Jota's memory by singing and clapping for him in the 20th minute, which was his shirt number. But there's been some debate among the fans as to whether they want to continue doing that or not, because there is some concern that maybe that might be added pressure and more of a reminder on the players. We saw during the international break Andy Robertson talking about, obviously, with Scotland having qualified, and he talked about the fact that he and Jota would often talk about going to a World Cup, and his mind was very firmly fixed on Jota in that moment of triumph when they were winners the other night. So I think it's there, it's all around them, and it's difficult, and it's hard for us to sit here and say they're not doing well enough, they're this, they're that, and be as critical as we would be of other teams, because other teams have not had the nightmare that Liverpool have had.
Yeah, Jermaine, I want to speak specifically about players you mentioned. Only one has really hit the ground running. Alexander Isak, naturally, with Liverpool, is the talking point because of the way he arrived there, because of this protracted transfer drama around him. It looks like he's going to feature because he was a substitute for Sweden in the international break. Still waiting to break his Premier League duck for Liverpool, though. How much does that play on your mind?
Yeah, it's playing on his mind because, of course, because, you know, you talk about the fee and, you know, you come in with such a massive reputation. But I think what people need to understand that is when you've not had a pre-season, it's difficult. It's so hard. A pre-season is so important. You know, the training, the conditioning, the games to prepare you for the season. And hopefully you start the season well. When you've missed that and you're not trained in a group, you're training with a fitness coach, you just lose so much. You cannot replicate the game. You just can't. So he's going to need time. He's going to need time for sure. But of course, it's difficult because centre forward you want to play, and when you're not playing and there's someone else playing ahead of you and they're scoring goals and the fans are singing their name, naturally, no one's going to like that. You know, even though, of course, you know, if you're winning football matches, it's about the team. But at the same time, he'd be desperate to score goals and show these Liverpool fans how good he is.